welcome to our second review.
And today we will be looking at the most forgettable movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, The Incredible Hulk.
So before we get into the main video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us out.
We've also created a Facebook page and a Twitter account for our channel. We'll be providing updates as to what videos you can expect in the coming weeks, as well as maybe some sneak peeks here and there. So the links will be in the description below where you can go check this out. You can also find our Facebook page and our Twitter account through our main channel.
And don't forget to stay tuned till the end for the question of the day. So, Matthew, what was your overall impression of this incredible film?
Incredible may be a slight overstatement here. For me, this was an incredibly cheesy and forgettable movie. There's a reason why people have this at the bottom of the rankings for MCU movies, and for me that's probably where it falls as well. It's incredibly boring with very few moments that stood out as like, that's cool.
Yes, I would agree. Overall impression was underwhelming.
Yeah.
That being said, I kind of enjoyed it more than I thought I would. We skipped this movie on our first time through the MCU movies, and I totally understand why we did that. But watching it for the first time, I almost expected it to be worse, but it didn't like blow me away and go, oh, this is amazing. Actually, it was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And for me, before watching this, actually for making up our notes, I'd seen a couple little snippets of the movie here and there. I'm like, man, this is not going to be good. And I was right, but it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's still terrible.
Yes, it is. It is.
So, positive aspect. What do we like about this movie?
Okay, so I think this is an unpopular opinion, but I liked this Hulk. I thought he was kind of like young and kind of cute and like stumbling through life. I don't know. He felt like
kind of cute.
No, I told you this as we were watching the film that he was like a scared, uncertain teenager, and he's like suddenly ages up, which makes sense because they changed the actor.
Yeah.
But in Avengers, he's like totally different, and I kind of like him in this movie. Not sure that I would want him to be like the same Hulk through all of the movies. I'm still like torn on that, but I kind of liked him.
Okay.
And
that's it?
That is it. No, another thing that stood out to me, again, I'm not sure if I love it, but I think it's kind of stands out as one of the better points, is this feels like a monster movie. And this is something that a lot of Marvel movies do, where they're not just a superhero movie. It's like
there's something else.
So they're like a buddy movie, but also they're superheroes or whatever. But in this, it was a monster movie, but also he's a superhero.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked that.
Yes, and I have a couple points on that that'll come at later, for sure.
Okay, cool.
That was something that I noticed as well. What I liked is that, except for maybe the end fight scene, the sets don't look fake for the most part. Like, I loved a bunch of the nature shots that they got of him at the beginning of the movie. It didn't look like he was in front of a green screen, which I liked.
Yeah.
I liked his body to mind sort of healing thing that he did, where he's doing all the breathing exercises with the what would you call them, martial arts people? Yeah. And I liked how that kind of mirrors Doctor Strange, where he goes through mind to body healing. This is the opposite. Body to mind healing.
That's a super interesting point.
The other thing is, I like how, and this piggybacks off of how it's kind of a monster movie, I liked how they hid the Hulk from view in his first fight scene. How they kept him as kind of like this specter, this thing that is to be feared.
Yeah, it honestly made me think of like shark documentaries where they at first don't show the shark and you just sort of see wisps of it through the shadows.
Or you see somebody just disappearing underneath the water, or just a fin.
Yeah, totally reminded me of that.
Yeah, which is good. And I liked, what else did I like? Only one more thing. I liked the heart rate monitor thing. That added something else to the movie that kind of helped explain where the threshold is to him becoming the Hulk.
Yeah, and I liked it too because then you could kind of have this moment of silence, but in the background you hear his heart rate monitor going faster and faster, and so it builds the suspense. Yeah. I like that too.
Yeah, and then they completely trash that for the rest of his appearances in the MCU, so really that point is moot, but whatever. Yeah. So, best moment. For me, there was none. Let me back up. There were no particular points in this movie where I was like, wow, that is cool, let me write that down, or that's an awesome moment. That didn't exist.
I totally agree with you on that. I would say the one thing that sort of struck me, like if I had to choose a best moment, it's like a best of the worst, but if I had to choose a best moment, it is the opening sequence. I remember sitting there watching it, and there's like the credits rolling a little bit, there's names coming up, but then watching the sequence, it was like I said before, it felt like a monster movie. It felt like the opening of like Frankenstein or something, which I've never seen, but I've read the books, so I kind of know the feeling, right? So, and it felt like that, and I kind of liked it. I even wrote down like, okay, this is kind of okay. This is better than I thought.
It's starting out well.
Yeah, and then it doesn't deliver on the rest of it. But if I had to choose a moment, it's the opening sequence. I liked that.
And the reason why I didn't have a best moment is because that was my best action scene, and I feel like I have to pick kind of different things for each one of these points. So the best action scene was that first opening scene. I liked how it kind of was a parkour-ish kind of vibe to it, where he's running through the city being chased by the army. There were a couple things I didn't really like about that scene, like he should have been able to get away. He's been in that city for years, right? He should be able to find somewhere to hide. But other than that, very entertaining scene. Kind of had me on the edge of my seat a little bit. Yeah. Loved how they hid the Hulk from view when he finally transformed into the Hulk. Yeah. And it set up the movie well if they had delivered for the rest of the film.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good point.
Favorite quote?
Favorite quote. Okay, so favorite quote is they're driving, he's with his girlfriend, they've reunited, they're heading off. I think they're going to the hotel at this point, something like that. Is a bad sign when you can't remember exactly where a quote is located. But the quote is, I don't want to control it, I want to get rid of it. And that totally sets him up for the rest of his character arc throughout the movies. So that stood out to me.
Yeah. Do you want to go on and explain how that kind of sets that up?
Well, I mean, ultimately in Endgame we see him unite himself, which I know a lot of people kind of didn't jive with that. And
I liked it.
Yeah, but ultimately that's the end of his arc. That's him reconciling his Hulkness with his Bruceness. Yeah. It's the culmination of all that. And so throughout his appearances in the Avengers movies, he's kind of trying to choose between the two of like, okay, how I get the Hulk is useful, but like what price am I willing to pay to be that? Because every time I am the Hulk, something goes wrong. I hurt somebody, like all of that. And so this is him starting on the complete flip side of where we see him in Endgame. This is like, I don't want this. I want no part of the Hulk. And by Endgame, we see him like, okay, actually, no, this is good. The two of us together, we can actually do some good here.
Yeah, and his arc kind of goes from, I want to get rid of it, to, I want to control it. I've got control. I've lost control. Now we're reconciling the two.
Yes.
Which I think...
It was, really
It's a very good way to tell the character story without actually having a standalone film, which obviously we do have here, but most people kind of disregard it anyway. So kind of having that arc, especially throughout the rest of the MCU, is really, really good for this character.
Yeah, actually, huge point, because he's, of the main, like, 4 Avengers, he's the only one who gets like one standalone, but it's kind of not really one. So for them to be able to pull that kind of arc it's really good.
It's good. Yeah. My favorite quote, because I was kind of debating on picking that one, but I thought you would pick it, so I'm going to go a different direction. This is a whole new level of weird.
That sums up the movie.
It sums up the movie. It sums up a lot of Bruce Banner's appearances, especially in Thor Ragnarok, and kind of sums up kind of where the MCU started to go, where it is now, is weird.
True, very true.
And it was the only moment of levity in this entire movie. It was, for me, probably the most memorable moment, so that's why I have it down as my favorite quote.
Yeah,
and in case you guys don't know who said that, that was the military guy who eventually turned into Abomination at the end.
Yeah. Which was a whole new level of weird.
It was. I did not like him at all.
No, but more on that later.
Yeah, exactly. Theme.
Theme. Okay, so I wrote down the theme that I took away from this was, is power a gift or a curse?
Okay.
And I think that's the main question that a lot of the characters, especially Bruce, is asking throughout this movie. Definitely when he begins the movie, he thinks his power is a curse and it needs to leave. I wouldn't say his arc is at all resolved by the end of this movie. I think he's still totally unsure, which is not the greatest feeling to leave your audience with, to have, like, it's okay if you have a series of books or movies where you're planning for the character arc to arc across the whole thing, but they should have some sort of conclusion by the end of their first installment.
Yes.
And Hulk doesn't get that.
It's like if you imagine an arc goes like this, boop, end, but it still keeps going throughout each of the movies that they appear in.
Yeah, it builds, which, you know, Iron Man does well, Thor does moderately okay, Hulk does not do at all.
Yeah. I have, for my theme, is learning, although, again, as you pointed out, doesn't really come to grips with this, but it was honestly the best thing I could come up with for this terrible film. Learning to live with the bad aspects of yourself and then use them for good.
Okay.
So, I have no idea what the real-life application for this is, but that's what I kind of felt what this character had. He takes something that is wrong with him, and by the end of the film, he's like, this bad thing that I have is the only thing that we can use to be able to stop Abomination.
Yeah.
Throw me in there, coach. Let's see what I can do.
Yeah.
So
that's a fair assessment. Again, we don't get a really solid grasp of it by the end, which is unfortunate. But
yeah, and I don't really agree that that's a good moral thing, anyways. But it is what it is. It is what it is for this film.
Unfortunately, so.
Yeah. So. What was... Actually, I'll delve into it first.
Okay.
Worst overall moment for me was the end fight scene. It was terrible. CGI was bad. The lighting was off.
It's really...
Like, it was supposed to be shot at night.
Yeah.
Supposed to be dark, but it didn't feel dark. It had this weird yellowish tinge to the whole thing.
It was odd, yeah.
You can feel something was off, and that just pulls you out of it entirely. The villain was poor.
So bad.
His dialogue was poor.
So bad.
And then the special powers that the Hulk displayed were kind of stupid.
Okay, so yes, that was my worst moment when he does that, like, clap thing to, like, put out the fire on the
How does he even know to do that?
Whatever. Okay, A, how does he know to do that? B, why do we never see it again? And C, it's utterly stupid.
Exactly, and why would it blow out the fire? If it's that powerful, wouldn't it tip over the helicopter and kill everyone?
Yeah, but yeah, it made no sense, and honestly, it made me think of, like, Bolt's super bark from the movie.
Yeah.
It pulled me out of the movie entirely. It was just a moment of, okay.
And I understand they threw it in because it's in the comics.
Oh, is
but
it? Okay.
It is in the comics, but it makes no sense for this movie.
Yeah.
At all. And then what was the other thing that he did? Oh, when he said Hulk smash and he hit the ground and the crack showed up.
That was so bad.
It's like, first of all, can't be dialogue. Second of all, how does hitting the ground cause a crack to go and hit your bad guy? Like...
Yeah. It was bad on multiple levels.
It's dumb.
It was really... yeah.
And that's what I had. My worst moment for me was just the entire end fight scene.
That was exactly my point, too. And the dialogue felt really cheesy and comic booky,
video game-ish.
which I know, like, it is based on comic books.
But there's a good way to do comic book dialogue.
Exactly, like...
Endgame.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was...
Just gross.
It was just bad.
It made you want to vomit into your own mouth. Like, it was... Ugh.
Yeah, that was... At that point, I realized, okay, this is why we skipped this film. Because, like, there were a couple moments leading up to that where I was like, But that was the real moment that I was like, I'm done.
I'm done. I'm checked out. You can have your money back.
So, circling back for a minute, I know something that I was going to pull into a lot of reviews was story structure.
Ah, yes.
So, because this was my first time watching the film, a lot of the other Marvel movies, I already have a good idea of the structure, so then when I rewatch it, I can really pull out the pieces and be like, okay, that was there, this was that all makes sense. This was my first time watching this movie, so I wasn't really able to do that. Was not paying the greatest attention because I was not particularly riveted and invested in this film. So I did a little bit of research to try to see if anyone else had analyzed the structure. Turns out nobody else cares either.
That's how bad it is.
And so all I can give you is that the timing of the beats was relatively okay. From what I can remember, I mean, they obviously have a climax. It sucked, but they had a climax.
It was there.
I don't really remember if there was a midpoint, which kind of sucks. There was a first plot point, and I don't really remember what that was either.
Yeah.
Like, nothing really stands out. So it's like, yeah, the movie had a trajectory.
Yeah.
It was going somewhere, but it wasn't going there very well.
Yes.
So
it was like a snail headed in the right direction. He just never got there and was too slow.
pretty much.
Or like handing in a final paper that hits everything that the teacher wants you to have, but the actual paper is just so bad.
Yeah, so it's like you could have gotten a great grade, but then the writing
Your writing sucked.
kind of bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really sums up the whole movie very well.
Yeah.
So
Anyways,
that was what I took away there.
More with the bad stuff.
Yeah, let's keep roasting this film.
I didn't like how they skipped. Well, they didn't really skip. They breezed over his experiment and how he became the Hulk in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like opening with that scene and actually kind of going through it a little bit more would have been better for us to understand how he became the Hulk.
Yeah.
His relationship with what's her face? Elizabeth would have helped a little bit better. I would have liked to have that in there.
Yeah, because then that could have avoided some of the like exposition that happens later where
Yeah.
they're just like, yeah, he was studying such and such and this is his lab, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
we could have known that if you'd shown
Yeah,
us that.
if you don't have to have exposition in your film, don't have it and just have a very good opening sequence.
Yeah.
I didn't like his blood getting caught in the bottle and getting shipped to Stan Lee cameo, and then that's how the entire movie kicks off. Because if that didn't happen, we wouldn't have the Hulk movie, right? He would still be in Brazil, and it feels like a very
that's like
dumb way for him to be found out by the army.
like an accidental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I don't
agree.
want an accident being what kickstarts my movie.
You never want that. That just feels cheap.
It's a Jar Jar Binks move, and I don't like it.
Don't do that.
Again, bad lighting.
Throughout the whole film, the lighting was odd.
CGI especially compared to Iron Man, which came before this, is bad.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I
they
don't
had
know if
a
they just
budget.
had a low budget or something, but yeah, it was odd.
Didn't like the cast, except for Eric Norton as the Hulk. Everybody else I didn't like, especially... Although, what's her name? She played
Elizabeth?
Arwen.
Liv Taylor.
Liv,
the actress's
is it
name.
Liv Taylor or Liv Tyler?
Oh, Tyler. I don't know.
Tyler.
It's Liv something.
Liv something. I love her in Lord of the Rings,
Yes,
but
she
she
suits
sucked
that
in this movie.
And it's because
She
she
was
has
terrible.
such a soft voice, which
doesn't-
totally suited Arwen. Doesn't really suit a scientist.
Exactly. And that's the other thing that I had. It felt like every single scene, everybody was whispering.
It was really weird.
It was weird.
Yeah.
The filmography was bad. It was super cheesy. What else do I have? That's it for.
That's it?
That's it for me.
That was pretty much all I pulled out too. Like, the lighting really struck me as odd. There's a scene where there's like a storm coming in, and it's like broad daylight, and then suddenly it's pouring rain.
Yes.
And it was like, A, where did that come from? And B,
Yeah.
it doesn't even look like a storm. Like, it still kind of looked like broad daylight with just rain.
Yeah.
It was really,
it was weird.
really odd.
Yeah, it was that scene where he's fighting the army outside of the university campus.
Yeah.
It's bright and sunny out. He throws something at a helicopter. Immediately after, once the helicopter crashes down, we have rain.
Yeah.
But it's still sunny out. And we didn't see any clouds earlier.
Yeah, it was
just weird.
Odd. Cheesy
You mentioned
lines, for
you
sure.
mentioned something about how you didn't like the love story that was going on.
Oh, did I?
I believe so, when we were watching it.
Oh, when we were watching it, yeah. So, I don't know. It just felt half done. It felt like I didn't get enough of these characters to really know
Why they're together?
Like, they work together, and that's really all we get. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think even having, like you pointed out earlier, having a more detailed, like, opening with showing his, like, transition into the Hulk could have set up their love story a lot better,
Yeah.
because then she's not just a random girl face that we see.
Yep.
It's like, okay, this is how they know each other, this is how they were working together. Yeah, they didn't set it up well, and so it didn't feel terribly organic for her to care so much about him.
That she would leave her boyfriend behind.
Yeah, like, totally
Like,
did
poor
show.
guy.
I know, right? And
You're
then
leaving me
also,
for this guy who transforms into this angry green thing?
yeah, and it also kind of makes her feel I don't know, just weird to have moved on in the sense that now she's dating again, but somebody else.
Yeah.
But then as soon as he shows up, it's like, oh no, I'm back to Bruce. It was just odd. It just, not well done. So yeah, I didn't like that either. And then I'd say all of the characters were flat, just
two-dimensional,
dull.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, even Bruce was just not spectacular.
Yeah, he was the best part about this movie.
He was.
But he was not good.
Unfortunately so. Yes.
What was the point? What was the point?
What was the point? Actually, I couldn't.
I just have entertainment. I don't know when this was released. If it was a summer movie, I think it was a summer movie. If I'm wrong, sound off in the comments below how I don't know my Marvel. But I believe it was a summer movie, and summer movies, just like the Jurassic World movies, they're not great, but you just go to waste an afternoon and have some fun with your friends in the movie theater.
That being said, the Jurassic World movies are better than this one.
Yeah. At least, okay.
No,
I'll go with you on that.
I'll say they're better. So my real thought process behind trying to find the point of a movie is, okay, does it tie back to the theme? Do we get an answer to the thematic question? And we don't.
That's why I just have entertainment.
We don't know if power is a gift or a curse. We don't really know how that all balances. We don't know how that applies to us because we don't turn into green rage monsters.
Exactly.
So it was just,
meh.
Entertainment, which it kind of fails at. So.
Yeah, it was entertaining for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Ranking out of 10.
Ranking out of 10.
You go first.
I said no higher than 5. I'm still not sure where I'm going to land on that scale.
No, you gotta pick a number.
Okay.
Gotta pick a number. Because we can change it for our final ranking video in May.
Okay, as long as I'm flexible. 4?
Okay. So you remember how, for our Iron Man review, I said none of these movies are going to drop below a 6 for me.
This one does.
Yeah. It's a 4.
It's a 4?
It's a 4.
It's a 4.
It's a 4.
Yeah.
So that means I probably should have ranked my Iron Man movie a little bit lower than a 7.5, given the fact that I really didn't like it that much.
Although when you compare it to this, I mean,
it's great.
It is a lot better. But again, I guess we will have to just revisit that when we.
Yes. So if you're with us until, well, at least we hope you are, until next May 2020, we are going to go through every single one of, because by then we'll have reviewed every single Marvel movie. Black Widow will be coming out soon. So we'll dive into, okay, what is our exact rankings? What is our exact scores for everything? We're going to have a little bit of wiggle room. Like, let's say with the Iron Man movie, I gave it a 7.5 in the review. I might bump it down a little bit, and we'll see where that goes.
Sounds good.
So, overall, forgettable and cheesy. Watch the first 20 minutes, then leave. That's my recommendation.
Yes, I would agree. I mean, if you want to watch it, go ahead. But we skipped it the first time, and we're none the worse for wear.
Yeah.
So, it really
you can skip it too.
It totally is a skippable movie.
Yeah.
That concludes it well.
Exactly. So, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. It really helps our channel out, and we very much appreciate it.
Yes, and our question of the day is, which Hulk do you prefer? Do you prefer the Eric Norton from the Incredible Hulk movie, or Mark Ruffalo, who takes on the torch from here throughout the rest of the Avengers movies? I personally kind of prefer the first Hulk in Incredible Hulk. But again, I'm not entirely sure, because then I go watch the Avengers and I like Mark better. So, it's a toss-up for me.
She's in a toss-up. You guys sound off in the comments below as to what your opinion is.
Enlighten me.
Exactly. Okay, guys, we'll see you on Friday.
Absolutely. See ya.
Don't you say it left. Come on!